That sounds German to me. And Kia Sonet has been promising to deliver a richer experience in a small package. A sub 4 meter SUV that has got everyone's attention with its extensive features list. But today, we drive it and see whether it really delivers on that promise of being a bigger car at heart, a richer experience or not. I'm going in. Before we go any further, I've got to tell you that in the entire package, there is one thing that annoys me. There's one thing that I find tacky. But we'll talk about that later. For now, let's just look at this. This looks muscular. It's hard to believe that it's actually related to the Hyundai Venue because this just feels more beefy, and Kia have worked hard on that. For instance, this bonnet sits higher, it's more sculpted. The car's actually bigger, it's a little bit wider, it's taller, and not just taller in terms of bragging rights by way of the roof rails or the 16-inch alloys. It's actually got 15 mm more ground clearance than the Venue, claims Kia.
Compared to the Venue, the front overhang is lesser while the rear overhang is larger. Isn't that a lot of effort to just spice up the design quotient?
Now the boot, there's so much to talk about, right? The blacked out C-pillar, the LED tail lamps or the LED DRL in their heartbeat shape, and of course that bumper, which is in my books a little overdone but certainly gets attention. But what really catches my attention here with the Sonet is that Kia has made it more practical as well. This boot is 392 litres, which is 42 litres more than the Venue. Well, how much it can pack in? Well, certainly it's deeper, a little bit wider, so should make it more practical. But what is going to make it easier to load luggage into is the fact that the boot lip is lower, and this is just so nice and wide, no intrusions from the tail lamps, which will make it much easier to load your luggage.
So, it is different, not just to make a statement, but to also be better.
And when you step inside, wait. Wow, that door has a nice thunk to it, as does that door handle, which just feels plush, and this grab handle feels solid. The leatherette finish looks smart. Kia's really gone the distance to make this look good and feel genuine in that sense. It doesn't feel like it's skimping on the small bits. It's in place here. You look at the cabin design, of course, you could look at this and say it's flashy, it's a little youthful, and what's with these chunky buttons here? But on the go, you'll find that these are really easy to reach out to and use. And practicality is a big factor here in this cabin, as you can see from all the storage spaces for your phone. There's of course that wireless charger, which is nicely integrated with a little cooling vent as well. There's another little slot here, and you could also slot it in here between the cup holders. So lots of practicality packed in there. And the door pads, well, you have space for a bottle. There's even space for a small little umbrella over there as well. So this isn't a car that's just trying to wow you with its frills and features. It's got practicality nailed as well. And I'll give you another example. For example, the Seltos had integrated air purifier, as does the Sonet, but this also has a virus filter. Yeah, so it can clean out apparently 99% of contaminants, and it also has a little bit of frills, like a perfume dispenser built into that. But talking about the Seltos and features borrowed from it, ventilated seats, the pièce de résistance of the Sonet for sure. The one that a lot of people are going to want. And well, it's a really handy feature for our weather. What you'll also find similar, let's say familiar, is that 10.25-inch screen, which is inspired from the Seltos, which is crisp, clean, easy to use. And well, here you still don't get physical buttons here on the larger screen, but you do get voice commands, the Hello Kia command, to control a few more of the functions. The thing is that this isn't particularly fast because it's happening over the air and the commands are being processed on the server. It's not totally handy on that front. But you do get this handsome steering wheel, flat bottom steering wheel with all the beautifully laid out buttons, at the cost of repeating myself, very German, if I may say so. And the instrument cluster, not the handsomest of designs, but that 4.2-inch MID that's slapped on over there really looks beautifully done. The graphics, the colors on use makes it look properly handsome. You get information like, of course, your trip computer, the compass, the tire pressures. So it's very handy to have. So this cabin is looking good and practical as well. And talking about frills, there are a couple of things that you might like, not must-haves in my book, like the electric sunroof, and of course the LED mood lighting with the sound functionality or something, dances to music. Oh, and talk about music, definitely not a frill. Bose sound system here on the Sonet, honestly, feels so much better than the one that we experienced in the Seltos. The back seat, can I show you this pocket? Such a simple, thoughtful touch for you to store your phone. And it's not that you don't have a dedicated space. There's another one over here with a nice USB socket. And of course the display for the air purifier right there. The back seat itself, like we've seen in the Venue, not the widest.
The Sonet's door pads have been shaped a bit differently to open up more shoulder room, but it still isn't going to be comfy for 3 adults.
While width may not be as much as some of its competition, there's ample knee room and headroom on offer here, even for 6-footers. Now with the scooped out backrest, of course, it promises to hold you better, but the overall comfort really could do better with firmer cushioning. The cushioning just is a bit too soft and you tend to sink in and it doesn't support you all that well. But on the upside, this small little quarter glass here, it might not be in your window line, but it's letting in more light into the cabin and it just makes it feel that little bit more airy. So the Sonet has managed to give us a very rich experience inside the cabin while being very sensible. How does it pan out when you start driving it? Well, first and foremost, the seating position. What I can tell you is that the seat itself, which is height adjustable, has been set a little bit higher than in the Venue so that you get a better view out of the cabin, especially because there's a little bit of a restriction because of the way this infotainment console is laid out. You drive this a little bit more, you also quickly realize that this also feels more plush for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, the sound insulation is actually better than the Venue. You can't hear the 3-cylinder petrol that I'm driving here as distinctly. And Kia say that they have increased the amount of sound deadening on this and also worked on the mounts for the engine to reduce the vibration. All I can say is a long journey in the Sonet won't be a chore. It's also because of the way it handles everything you chuck at it. You show it a set of bad roads, it soaks them up with a sense of plushness. It doesn't feel harsh, and because of the cabin insulation, the surfaces feel that much more distant.
Unlike the Seltos, the suspension setup on the Sonet is just right for Indian roads. It feels like a small SUV should.
And well, if you show it a couple of corners, you'll find that it's a pretty neat handler as well. The steering is light, it feels nippy. So it does roll a bit, but still you can enjoy corners like that.
And talking about fun, how does it perform?
Now when it comes to petrol engine options, the Sonet gets the 1.2 litre naturally aspirated motor with a 5-speed gearbox and of course the 1 litre turbo-petrol, which is being offered with the intelligent manual transmission, and that's the one we're driving right now. This is the one you want if spirited driving is what you're looking for, because this has all the convenience of a manual. Shift down hard if you feel like it, but without the hassle of having a clutch. I love this little touch. When you shift down, you'll find that it matches revs to make the gear shift smoother. And from a practical standpoint, if I have to look at this, okay, I'm shifting. That was from 3rd to 4th. This is 4th to 3rd. Can you see any head nod here? Nada. It's phenomenal from a practicality standpoint as well.
Only the laziest or the snootiest would still pick the DCT, which does have a couple of advantages.
Of course, when it comes to fuel efficiency, the dual clutch is a little bit more fuel efficient as claimed by Kia, but it's not that the IMT is too far behind.
And its performance doesn't trail by too much either. One big reason to go for the DCT is you want the drive and traction modes. This tweaked the throttle responsiveness to make the Sonet calmer or more peppy. The traction control changes to make the Sonet better tuned for different road conditions.
The Sonet's big experience factor when it comes to the engines is also tied to its diesel. Well, of course, you have the 1.5 litre diesel, but it's also being offered with a 6-speed automatic, a proper torque converter. Now this is offered with more horsepower, 115 PS of power, which is essentially the same state of tune as in the Seltos. You get it with a manual, of course, a 6-speed manual, which is capped to 100 PS of power like on the Venue. Now this diesel is of course punchy, smooth. You do hear a bit of it in the cabin, but nothing too loud. And the gearbox, well, we wouldn't call it super snappy, but it is smooth and quick enough for, well, normal driving. But if you really want to hustle it, you might want it to be a little bit quicker. And of course, you don't have paddle shifts here.
Its performance is almost on par with the turbo-petrol, and it's pretty efficient too.
The added weight of the diesel engine and the automatic transmission give this a little bit more sense of solidity. It ends up feeling a bit more blunted when compared to the petrol.
So the diesel will make for a great companion on long drives. The Sonet also promises to be handy to live with features like front and rear parking sensors and electrically folding ORVMs. When it comes to safety, you get dual airbags and ABS as standard, while 6 airbags, stability control and hill assist are also on offer on higher variants.
And finally, we're still talking about things that we like. It looks wow, doesn't it? And you know that the wow elements on this particular Sonet is because those red splashes signify that this is the top of the line GT variant, which is the GTX Plus. And of course, those LED headlamps with the LED DRLs are available even on the HT line and only on the few top-end variants, which is understandable. But what I do not get and what annoys me is that the alloy wheels will not be on offer on the HTK Plus, which is only one of 2 variants on which you get the automatic transmission. So effectively, if you want an automatic with alloy wheels or the LED headlamps, you'll have to stretch all the way up to the GTX Plus. That's the bit that annoyed me. The bit that's tacky? Sonet. What do you think that name means? Poem? No. Apparently it's derived from social network. In this car that's otherwise setting such a high bar, that really feels off-key. that explanation. But that's it. The Sonet is just so good in just about every which thing that it does that it's pretty much hard to fault it. Yes, the back seat could be wider to make it a better family car. The cushioning could definitely be better. But other than that, this package to drive, to be driven around in, to brag about, to be seen in, it's pretty much hitting the mark. Now, the thing that we don't know is the price tag. For that, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see whether it's really ticking off all the boxes or not.
We'll know the prices of the Sonet on the 18th of September. And priced right, the Sonet can be an even bigger achievement for Kia than the Seltos has been, which is saying a lot.